Hey, Dave Melinda here, Positive Polarity Podcast. Hope things are going awesome for you. I got a really good question to start off this week, and it's imagine this. So I want you to just put on your imagination hat for a minute and imagine if you could ignite purpose for every team member that you have. What would that do to your bottom line? What would that do to the company? What would that do to the customer? So we're going to unpack that today. I really am excited about purpose. As you know, I have my Amazon #1 best-selling book, Growing on Purpose. So we have fellow author Bea Boccalandro. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here, Dave.
Awesome. You're the founder of VeraWorks and you're a fellow author, and your book is Do Good at Work. So I am super excited to unpack this today. And I'm already going to tell you up front that there's already people listening right now, that are like, yeah, there's no way we're going to be able to ignite every team member. And they probably already have somebody in mind that they're saying, so-and-so would never go for this, or so-and-so would never be able to fit into that category. So I just want to start out right up front and help and ask you if you can help us understand what that means about igniting purpose for people on our team.
Yes, I'd be happy to. So most people think, like, if you want purpose ignited in your job, you have to be clear what your purpose in life is. And I think that that's a great thing to know. And there are lots of amazing people doing that kind of work, and your work on purpose is great. But it turns out that there's like a shortcut to having your work feel meaningful. So meaning is purpose after the fact. So you look back and you go, oh, I'm so happy with my work week because it was meaningful, because you did things that had purpose in them.
Okay.
So very small amounts of making meaningful contributions to others or to societal causes ignite a sense of purpose, and they don't have to be aligned with what our life's purpose is. Okay. You had a guest on who used, like, I think a capital P purpose and lowercase purpose. And I like that distinction. So let me just tell you a quick story.
Sure.
So my book is endorsed by Adam Grant. He's a 4-time best-selling author and professor at Wharton. And he became really famous in psychology when he did this one experiment. And he went into an organization that had people cold calling to raise funds for scholarships.
Okay.
And he thought, I wonder what would happen if we brought someone in to the workplace who received a scholarship and just talked about what difference it made in their lives. So they had one of the scholarship recipients come and speak for 10 minutes to these telemarketers, right? Okay. And after that, their productivity went up by 181%. It was so astonishing, the change, that he didn't believe. Adam Grant himself did not believe the data. So he replicated it, I think 6 or 7 times, until he was finally like, okay, I get it.
He's a doubter, huh?
Well,
no, it makes sense.
It's surprising. I mean, we're always trying to increase productivity, right? And when it goes up 10%, we jump up and down. Right. There's 181% increase.
Jeez.
And the only difference was that they felt that they were making a contribution to someone out there. That was the only difference between pre and post. So anybody who thinks like, okay, I'm not going to be able to ignite purpose and everybody on my team, it's like, you might not be able to get them easily to the point. I mean, it will take a lot of coaching so that everybody understands their purpose in life and lives it every day. But you will very likely be able to get all of them, or maybe virtually all of them. There's always that one that one or two, virtually all of them, to sit down on Friday and go, I made a meaningful contribution out there this week, and I'm proud of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be something huge.
Well, so I mean, again, a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners listening right now, and I can say, I'll speak on their behalf, just because I've been there my whole life. I don't have time in my day to be thinking what's my purpose in life. And the weird thing is that I go all the way back to when I was like, as you were talking about that, I was kind of like doing mental inventory and thinking, when did I ever get taught how to do that? Or when did they tell me, sit down and understand what your purpose is in life? They tended to people would just say, go get a job, go make money, go get a degree, whatever it is that you felt was your lot in life. Purpose seemed to kind of fall behind in that. So I'm just curious if that's still the way it is in life today, or if their purpose is catching up with them, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it's a tall ask to, do all that reflection of why am I here? What is the point of me being here? But I don't think it's infeasible for most people to just look at how they're doing their job and see if there's a way to do it in a way that makes a meaningful contribution to others or to a societal cause, which I term job purposing. So let's say you run meetings, right? You run your staff meetings. One of the examples in my book is from Charles Antis. He's fantastic at igniting purpose in his entire team. His, retention is through the roof. He's an entrepreneur, very successful one now. And all he did to his meetings was, if you are employee of the week, then what I'm going to give you as a prize is a charitable giving card. Now you can give these $50 to whatever organization you want. And the next time, next meeting, we just want to hear from you who you gave this charitable contribution to. And so that small change, that didn't take any time. It was just swapping out a gift card to, a restaurant, to swapping out. And, there's no way this team will ever go back to the restaurant gift cards, because they love hearing the stories of others of like, I gave this gift card to the American Heart Association because they were there when my grandfather, was having heart trouble. Or I gave this to an organization that supports coaches because when I was in high school, it was a coach that really supported me. So that doesn't take a whole lot of time. It's the same amount of money, but it shifts the conversation towards meaningful contributions to others. So, so we're not asking every team member, Charles Antis isn't asking every team member, go figure out your life's purpose. He's just saying, hey, I'm just going to tilt things in the workplace a little bit. So again, you feel like your workday is meaningful, is like it's doing something out there.
Well, and that's what I appreciate that. That's a great tip, really. And I don't want to miss that, and I don't want to gloss over that. So, for the business owner, entrepreneur, team leader that's listening, Bea's talking about doing good for other people. And, because I would have never thought, even when I help my clients now, they give gift cards to benefit themselves, right? I mean, the employee did a great job. Hey, you're recognized for it. That's awesome. We're taking it to the next level and saying, we're still going to do that. We're just asking you to go to your favorite charity and report back or whatever. I feel like there's a right or wrong here, and I'm black and white. I'm a super black and white person. I'm trying in my old age to understand a little bit of the gray, but I think one of the fears that I have personally about this purpose in life is I'm going to be judged for like right or wrong. So if I came up with, a great, I invested time, I went on a retreat, I spent the weekend, and I came up with this purpose in life, and you're the first person I see on Monday morning, and I'm like, B, I got this purpose in life, and I share it with you. I feel like I would hate for somebody to go, well, that's stupid. Where'd you come up with that? So
Right.
I don't know. That's just me. I don't know if other people can identify with that, but I think there's a lot of reasons to come up with in my mind as to why I don't want to do the purpose in life. So I
Yeah.
like your small, little course corrections, incremental steps, to be able to start down that journey.
Right. Right. And if you're, that's a great point. It's much easier. It's much safer. You're not really, you're as vulnerable as you want to be, right?
Right. Yep.
You don't have to overdo it.
Yep.
And, so, but you bring up a really interesting point, which is that even with the small steps of purpose, right? Like the making purpose, just
Yep.
realizing that we get a sense of purpose anytime we make a contribution, even
Right.
very small contributions. And by the way, the effect on the uptick on the happiness lasts for several weeks. So you can spend 5 minutes doing, this is research done on Canadians, but I'm sure it's true. You're not
You
just
never know,
Canadians
but
like
we'll
you,
use
but
it.
I'm sure it's true of Americans and others
Sure.
around the world, that
Absolutely.
doing 5 minutes of good, it gives us an uptick in happiness, and that uptick is still there 2 weeks later.
Wow.
So this is it's small amounts of contributions to others ignite purpose in us, and are really transformative to our well-being.
So what does that look like? Oh, go ahead,
I'm
finish.
sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, the issue that you brought up with, like, people are not going to like my purpose. If you're an entrepreneur, you might be like, well, okay, how do I choose a purpose for my organization, right? Like an organizational purpose that my team members can rally around, but that customers also like, and that,
Right.
we're so divided, right?
Right.
So, you might say, well, I really care about the environment, right? But we know that there's a percentage of people out there, and it's not a minuscule percentage either, who don't believe in climate change.
Sure.
So what do you do, right? And it might be that the issue you really care about, you're afraid that you're going to push away some customers. And the research that has been done on this is very interesting, because what customers hate most is no stand at all. So it's a business that is only about delivering the service and at a profit and staying in business, right?
Sure.
So it's actually better for customers that you say, you know what, I really want to work on this climate change thing. I realize maybe I'm in a state where a lot of people don't agree with this, but I'm going to be a net zero company in terms of my carbon footprint in 5 years, because that's important to me. And you will lose fewer customers than if you have no purpose at all.
Huh.
So as a leader of a company, it's actually better to stand for something that isn't universally accepted than it is. This is new. This
Sure.
was not true 10 or 15 years ago,
Sure.
than it is to stand for nothing.
So what do you do then, B, if you have a team, and the numbers arbitrary, I'm picking 10 just because that's easy number. If you have 10 people on your team, and you have, somebody that's involved in climate change, you might have somebody that's involved in, equality, you might have somebody that's involved in, animal rights, whatever they are, right? I don't think there's any right or wrong places to do good. So how do you then get those people to, cheer on each other, not have this to be a competition where mine's the best charity. You guys should all defect from your charity and come to mine. Mine's the best. How do you keep that teamwork and that camaraderie when you have differences? I don't want to say differences of opinion, but you just have different priorities within the team.
Right. Yeah. So, 10,000 years ago when, we were on the African savannah, or wherever we were, because we were beyond that at that point. But if let's say we were out on a hunting expedition, if one of the members started drowning when he was trying to, forge through a river, it's not like the other people on the hunting, the other humans on the hunting expedition said, oh, Brock, I'm sorry you're drowning, but my cause is whatever, environment.
Sure.
Or so I'm just gonna let you drown.
Okay.
That does not work in terms of humans surviving.
Sure.
We are hardwired to respond to basically, any calamity out there, anything that hurts other humans, any calamity out there. So this idea, and it's very American actually, that, we have our pet cause, and and so everything else is tertiary, or it's way down there in importance, is actually incorrect. That's not the way our minds work. So if you keep that in mind, a few things open up. First of all, this is the most strategic and the highest impact. If you, as a leader, the one thing that all your team members have in common is the company that they work for. So there are causes that are close to the company that they are all likely to care about. And if they don't already, it's very easy to expose them to it. Sure. So for example, let's say that you design, since you and I are in surf territory, right? Sure. In California, let's say you design surfboard fins. That's what your small business does.
Okay.
You could say, you know what? Our cause is going to be the ocean preservation.
Okay.
Because that's really close to our business. And frankly, if the ocean gets so toxic that people can't surf, we're not going to sell anything. So this is strategic. This is in the business interest. It's what, those of us in this corporate social responsibility field called material. Like the ocean health is material to our business. So that's the best approach, is to just, as a leader, lead your team to doing something meaningful as part of their everyday jobs that relates to the business, because that's the only thing they all have in common. So then the question is, well, how do you do that? Well, you know what if we designed the surfboard fin so that they had sensors in them, and then these sensors sent information to scientists, and then scientists had information on the temperature of the water and the chemicals in the water, and they could use that information to help preserve the oceans.
Sure.
Now, all of a sudden you are now doing the work that you've always done, which is design and manufacture these fins, but you're doing it in a way that is job purpose, that is making a meaningful contribution to a cause out there. That's the best way to go. Now, that's too scary. Let me just real quickly talk about a second way to go. Remember, we're all wired to care about pretty much everything out there. The reason we have our pet causes is because we've been exposed to them. So if you're like, okay, that's a bit too much, I'm not ready to choose a cause, you can just rotate. So if you got 10 members, every month, one team member comes up with an activity, or maybe a brown bag lunch or webinar or something on the cause that they care about. They share with others what they, how they can contribute, and that's it. Okay. Now you've given everybody a voice. Sure. So those are just two possible ways to go on that.
Well, tell you what, is that fin idea taken? Because I think we could go on Shark Tank with that and make some money. I think that's a pretty cool idea. Did you just come up with that just sitting here?
Oh, the surfboard thing?
Yeah. Where there's like
It's
sensors on there. Holy
it's
cow. That was,
totally yeah, no, I'm not that innovative. So my book has over 100 examples like that. Like
gotcha.
there are people in every type of job you can imagine job purposing, which is why I had the confidence to say, like, no matter who you are,
Sure.
if your job, isn't making a contribution to the world,
Sure.
you can change that,
Wow.
because
So-
it's because of all these people
Yeah, no, absolutely.
doing that.
So when you called your book Do Good at Work, I originally thought it meant like, do a good job at work. And so that's how I took it. So now after unpacking this with you today, I'm hearing it different, that you're trying to get people, encourage them to do a good deed, so to speak. I don't, at work.
Exactly.
Is that pretty, I mean, what do you do for the person? Because I gotta believe there's someone listening right now that is just not really buying into it,
Mhm.
and not real, they've thought about, and again, I don't want to make it sound bad. They've thought about themselves. They put themselves first, or they put their company first, or they put their customer first, but they've always been, focused on one of those three things: myself, my company, or my customer. Now to add this different nuance in is foreign. So are there simple little things like just, start by finding a cause that you personally believe in, and then put $25 in an envelope and give it to them, or invest an hour a month in time to volunteer? I mean, where does somebody start with some really small incremental steps if they aren't used to this type of
Yeah.
thought process?
Yes, great question. So the subtitle of my book is How Simple Acts of Social Purpose Drive Success and Well-Being. So there is magic in very simple acts.
Okay.
So I would say, start here. Think of something that you find at least a little heartbreaking, and then come up with something that you could put in your email signature that does something for
Okay.
that. So let's say that what kind of broke your heart today is that you went to your favorite lunch place and you're like, how are they going to make it? People aren't coming because there aren't enough people coming into the office building yet. Are they going to go out of business? So in your email signature, take a selfie of you with your big, delicious tuna melt, put it in your email signature and say, this is my favorite tuna melt. Check this place out. That's it. Because job purposing doesn't have to be about changing the world, some cause out there. It's a meaningful contribution to others or to a societal cause. So now you just try it, and just check how you feel before you do this. Like, what's your anxiety level? How excited are you about your job?
Okay.
And then check again, because the research is overwhelming. So we know that your cortisol levels should drop as soon as we do something like that, which is called the pro-social behavior for psychologists.
Okay.
The cortisol response in the brain, like it dampens down. So cortisol is the stress hormone. So the stress goes down. By the way, oxytocin and dopamine and serotonin go up. So these are all the feel-good hormones, right? You can get them with dessert or sex, or by putting that signature in your email, just making a contribution to someone else. Your there's studies showing your job satisfaction probably goes up 13% right away, your engagement 20%, your productivity 24%. And that's just at work. Those are just the work, like the career benefits or the work benefits. Wow. There are also personal benefits. So you're 40% you're 24% less likely to die in this year because your health is that much better. Now, I talked about like the hormonal response, but we know there's a cardiovascular response too. You're less likely to have a heart attack. You're less likely to suffer from depression. You're less likely to get cancer. There's even research now. I didn't put it in the book because there's only one study, and I only put things in the book that have been replicated several times, but there actually is research that it even makes you more attractive.
Wow.
To others. Like literally people will go, oh, on a scale of 1 to, they've only done it with men, not with women yet, but like literally on a scale of 1 to 10, he's a 9 when they see someone do the pro-social behavior. So, there
you go, man. There's your free tip of the day right there.
Exactly. There you go. Everybody's on now. Like, oh wait, what did she say what did she say the first 20 minutes of this podcast?
Now we're tuning in. Now all of a sudden the lights are lighting up. The phone lines
we should have started with that one, Dave.
Yep, yeah, exactly. Well, but think about that. I mean, with employee engagement, according to Gallup at, roughly hovering around 30%. I basically say 1 in 3 people show up every day, engaged in their job, which means 2 out of 3 people aren't engaged. They're notorious for saying it's not my job. They love to walk around and see how little they can do in a day. So if we were here and talking to you as a business owner and say, hey, we can increase that 30% by 20%, whatever that math is, all of a sudden now we're looking at a whole different, you can be as selfish as you want, understanding that this philosophy will increase engagement. So I think that's a great, those are some great statistics. Are all those in the book, B?
They're all in the book. Yeah. Chapters 1 through 3 and 10.
Okay, awesome. So again, for the business owner listening, if your focus is to increase employee engagement, this is a great opportunity to do that because let's face it, I don't know, I've yet to meet anybody that owns a business or runs a business, leads a team, that you ask the question, do you want more engaged people or do you want more engagement out of your existing people? No one's ever said, oh my gosh, I have so much engagement now. No, I'd like to, tone these guys down a little bit, right? And an engaged team means an engaged customer, and that's what I think becomes now. There's some serious dollars and cents behind that. So I greatly appreciate you sharing those statistics, and we'll keep that more attractive one kind of like on the peripheral. We won't we won't include that in the show notes.
We were making it the centerpiece of
Hey, maybe that would be a Shark Tank one. You never know. So
we're very shallow.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what matters most.
So do each of us have our own unique purpose in when it comes to a company, or do, again, our differences or individuality, that's okay in this type of situation, I'm assuming?
I do think it's probably true that we each have our own individual purpose, but but I also think that it's completely fine to back burner that whole exploration.
Okay.
For years and years, I mean, maybe your whole life, frankly, and just focus on whatever I'm doing today with whomever I'm doing it. How can I make this a contribution? And the research shows that both paths will get you the same biological and career benefits.
Wow.
So if you understand your purpose in life, and then you go and you set up a business that does that, wonderful. I mean,
Yeah.
everything I've talked about is
Yeah.
going to happen. As long as your purpose is about contribution. If your purpose in life is buying a Lamborghini, that's not really a purpose. Sorry to tell you.
Oh, darn it. Wait a
Purpose,
minute here. Now
it
you
has
lost
to
a
be at
couple people.
the
Phone lines are open again, people. Please call back.
Yeah, if your purpose is what, Maslow would call self-transcendent, so it's at the top of Maslow's hierarchy, right? That
Yep.
it's bigger than you,
Sure.
then that is fantastic that you were able to do that. And we all know cases like that. And you're likely a case like that. And that is fantastic. But if like you inherited your parents' insurance business, you were never really passionate about it, you're not sure that this is like the most purposeful thing you can do in the world is to
Sure.
sell insurance,
Sure.
then you can just job purpose the heck out of your job. You don't even have to do it that much. I shared a couple of examples, but maybe maybe you focus on offering cheaper insurance to marginalized communities.
Sure.
So you can job purpose that job, and you will have as bright a career and as healthy a personal life as that person who found their purpose and is living it through their job.
Gotcha. So I want to ask you, B, where does Vera Works and where do you come in to play in this? Because I've been hearing a lot of great information, and the people listening are probably faced with something that they've never thought of before. And so usually when I run into something that I've never thought of before, my immediate reaction is like I did here, is like, I got to find this person. I have to understand what job purposing is. I have to understand more about this. So where do you come into play for the average listener then?
Yeah. So, my day job is helping huge brands with this. So I work with like Toyota and HP and PwC and Eventbrite, just a whole bunch of Fortune 500s. And I love doing that work. But I realized that it was, so I'm available for that, of course. But I realized that my work was leaving a lot of people out of the possibility of like running around with a job ignited by purpose, by job purposing. So that's
Sure.
why I wrote the book.
Okay.
And, and I put content out there because actually you can do this on your own. So if you're in the second group, try following me. I think you'll like it.
Sure. Okay.
So you can go to dogoodatwork.com, and just, I'll send you free content and all of that. You might want to check out my Harvard Business Review article because it's, the book does cost something.
Sure.
And that's free. And it's a 5-minute read, and it gives you kind of the structure of job purposing and the possibilities, and it has links to. So it's a synopsis of the
Sure.
of
Okay.
the main points of the book, and that one is called "Why Your Values Belong at Work." It's Harvard Business Review, so you might want to look at that.
Okay.
And by the way, that article is a great way to convince your superiors to try job purposing, because it's published in the Harvard Business Review, it's got to be a good idea. So
Sure.
it's a great, if you feel like I don't have enough authority to even start this,
Sure.
that article might help.
Okay. So I'm just curious, as we start to land for this plane this week, where did you start this? I mean, we love to talk about the intersection of personal growth and business growth. So we've been focusing a lot on the business growth, which is fantastic. I just want to understand how you first got exposed to this and how you turned that into such a successful business, because the other side of it is a lot of people listening are on the verge. They'd love to jump in with a business idea. They just need to know the path. So what did your path look like, B?
Yeah. So I quit a great job in my early 30s because I thought there was something wrong with the
That was
job.
like 5 years ago for you, right?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Uh, so yeah, because I either thought there was something wrong with the job or with me. And really, it was a great job. I was doing what I like doing, which, as you can tell, I'm a nerd. So it was analyzing data. It was exactly the job I set out to get after grad
Sure.
school. I had a great supervisor. My coworkers only made me pull my hair out occasionally. For the most part, I really liked working with them.
Good.
Had a lot of autonomy, and I was bored. And I mean, I wasn't to begin with, but like after like a couple of years, I was like, this just isn't doing it for me. I don't really want to like go into work in the morning.
Sure.
And in what I've learned since then is that what I thought I lacked passion for the job, but really what I lacked was a sense of purpose.
Gotcha.
And if I had done any of like an infinite number of things to bring purpose, ignite purpose in that job, I probably didn't need to leave.
Mm.
And so that was thanks for the 5 years, but that was about 20 years ago.
What? Wait a minute here. Wow. Okay. Come on. Well, the camera
You're my
doesn't.
favorite podcast.
Camera does
Right
not
there.
show that. So you're whatever. For those
Yeah.
of you that can't see, she looks like she's in her 20s or maybe 30s. So anyway.
So I have spent 2 decades really kind of making sure that is correct, that
Wow.
it is absolutely possible. And a lot of people are in this situation where their job isn't really calling them. And it
Right.
might have originally, but it's no longer calling them. And we don't really know why. Often it's kind of like being anemic and you just don't know why you're low energy until the doctor tells you you need more iron in the blood. So
Sure.
I'm telling you, you might need more purpose in the job. We always think we need passion, like do what we love.
Yeah.
But actually, that's purpose is much, much more important. It's like 4 times more important to
Wow.
our well-being at the job than passion is. Like you can do something, a task you don't really like, but if it's a contribution to others, you're much more likely to perform well than if you do a task that you love without purpose.
Wow. Well, that's really good. And I feel like it's more of a grassroots movement that's much more, it doesn't require me to sell all I have. It doesn't require me to, go to school for 30 years. I mean, it doesn't require a huge investment because let's face it, the bigger the investment, the less actual movement that's probably going to happen. So
Yes.
I love that. So as we close this out, what would your tip of the week be for anyone listening right now?
So if you want a place to start, one thing that you can do that requires almost no time is what some psychologists call deep listening.
Okay.
So just go into your conversations, your workplace conversation, with an intent of first understanding the other person and then being understood. Stephen Covey said that very
There you go.
famously.
Yep. Seek
And it's
first
all
to
backed up by
understand, then be
research.
understood.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, just go in with that intent to give that gift to people, that you're really going to listen to what they say. You're not going to multitask. You're not going to interrupt. You're just going to try to understand them. It literally takes no time to do this. There's a great book called Compassionomics that says, like, at most it adds just a few seconds to conversations. It's not like now the conversation is going to be 20 minutes instead of 5.
Sure.
And it's a really powerful contribution out there, especially now where, our society is just so divided and people are walking around feeling like their point of view is never heard by anybody.
Right.
And just see how that goes. Try it out for a week and see how it goes.
Wow, that's fantastic. You would think as business owners that we would have deep listening going on every day when our customer is talking. And it's unfortunate some of the people I run into, they're formulating their responses long before the customer or the person's done talking. It's evident they're not listening. They don't agree, so therefore they shut down. I mean, there's just so much of that. So what a great, simple little tip to practice deep listening. So thank you so much for sharing that. This has been awesome. I had no clue that I was going to take as many notes as I did, and now I have to do something with this. So for the people that are listening, I always say every week, rather than jump on to your next podcast, rather than close this down and say, well, that was good, and go do something else, take a minute and actually inventory what's going on in your life and see if you can figure out how either to do good, find out what your purpose is, and hopefully you'll be more attractive. I heard that. I'm going to use that one a few times. But you're going to be more engaged. There's just a positive, everything's positive. There doesn't seem to be any downside to doing this. So if people are confused or they want to learn more, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Yeah, dogoodatwork.com. That's the website. You can subscribe there. You can poke around. You can download resources. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. And I'd love to connect with people. And I'd love to hear people's stories on how they're applying this. That's how I got the over 100 stories in my book, my book, including the one that, we wanted to take to Shark Tank.
Yes.
We'll have to come up with our own, Dave.
Yes, we will. Well, whoever that was, let's do the Men in Black pen on them so they forget everything that they wrote, and then we'll be able to, for sure, steal their ideas. So, well, hey, I think I'm going to have to get you back, because then what I can do is work on my doing good and then report back so that I can be in the second edition of the book. So that I can get my claim to fame that way. So, but Bea, thank you so much for investing in this. And thank you again for pouring your heart out for people. I have to say, if you walk away from this episode and you are not changed, that's cool. That's on you. But I'm hoping that something that was said in the last half hour, 40 minutes has created a stir within you and caused you to at least consider what your purpose is. I wrote Growing on Purpose because I run into so many people that are growing by mistake. So don't grow by mistake. Grow on purpose and do good at work, because you will feel way better. And I promise you'll be way more attractive. So thank you so much, Bea. And again, look forward to learning more from you.
Thank you, Dave. It was my pleasure.